Right then, for the more eagle-eyed amongst you, you may have realised things are looking a little bit different around here. I have some news. Let's have a look around and have a chat about it. So yes, I am on a different plot, and yes, your worst fears are true. This is my plot as well.
You're joking. Not another one?
You see, I've gone and caused a bit of a ruckus. And I have not fallen out, but there have been some crosswords exchanged, mostly by me, towards the allotment committee and the parish council who run the old site. Reason being, they did an inspection a few weeks ago and sent me an email to say that I'm going to have to get rid of my wildlife pond. And I'll be honest, that was a pretty devastating blow. Try not to sound too dramatic. Now, I checked the T's and C's of the allotments before I put in the wildlife pond, because I wasn't about to go and dig one in if I wasn't allowed them. There was nothing in the terms and conditions about no ponds. There wasn't even anything about needing to ask permission. And so there was me thinking, you know, an allotment site that is clearly wants to encourage beneficial wildlife. There were already frogs living in my toolbox, so why wouldn't I put a pond in? That, you know, that seemed like a no-brainer to me. Unfortunately, the committee had different ideas. So the email came through. Dear Leanne, we regret to inform you that the committee have decided that you will need to remove the pond. Obviously not the exact wording, but close enough. We recognise that there was nothing in the terms and conditions about wildlife ponds, and so we have also amended these to reflect the current circumstances. So they've changed the rules essentially to not allow me to have a pond. The reasons you might ask, they gave me 3 reasons. The first being wildlife concerns. As we know, ponds are hugely beneficial to wildlife. Sorry, I just realised I cut the top of my head off there. Ponds are hugely beneficial to wildlife, and as I just mentioned, I had frogs living in my toolbox when I took on the plot, and so all I have done is build a habitat for them. And you know, for frogs, the pollinators, there are newts and toads all over the site as well. They now have somewhere to go. As far as I'm aware, well, it must be because I'm not allowed it, this is the only pond on site, so the only place for them to really go. The second reason they gave me was health and safety concerns, which I would understand. However, the pond is very small. It's about 90 centimetres long, 40 centimetres wide, and at the deepest point about 30 centimetres, but it is also filled with gravel and stones. I've also taken additional measures to protect it. So there is a steel grid over the top, meaning nothing bigger than a hedgehog can get in. And trust me, we've tested it with my friend's 3-year-old. If he can't fall in, I'm pretty sure everything else is fairly safe. If anything small did fall in through the holes, I have stacked rocks so that they can very quickly climb out again. There is also a fence and a tall toolbox around 2 corners of it, and the rest of it faces into my plot. So anybody that trips over it or falls in it shouldn't have been on my plot in the first place. And I've taken every single measure possible to protect the health and safety. More about that in a second though. The third reason they gave was concerns about me putting the plot right once I leave. Which I think is also a very odd reason, given that site that I was on has been there for a very long time. I've got plot neighbours that have had their plots for 30, 40 years. And there is nothing to say that I wouldn't have stayed there for 30, 40 years. So I'm not entirely sure why they're worrying about something that's going to happen decades down the line. As it happens, it's now going to happen months down the line, and they've brought that on themselves, unfortunately. So as I mentioned, crosswords were exchanged, mostly by me. I responded to the email, basically saying all of the above. And I asked the question, who does the committee really work for? from my experience, I don't think they're really there to help plot holders. They have very little to do with the allotment sites or even the allotment community. There are several sites in this area. I think there are 4 in this village area, and they do very, very little to turn it into a community of sharing and growing, and just being a nice place. And then additionally, on the health and safety side, they have done diddly squat basically to make any of the sites safe. So I find it very, very hypocritical and ironic that they are calling me out for health and safety. I mean, there is a gate on our site that is literally being held up by a piece of string. I wouldn't call that safe, yet my highly protected pond with fencing and metal grids and all of the protective measures is dangerous. I've spoken to other plot holders that also have council plots in the area. There is a bank of mud that is collapsing onto a footpath on one of the other sites and has been for a couple of years. They have done nothing. The council, the committee have done nothing to make that safe. Which is more unsafe, that or my pond? And lastly, there are 2 sites up at Ashmead on the side of a very steep hill, and the only parking on one of the sites is outside of the site on a narrow road on top of a blind hill. There have been no measures made to make that safe. So if you are carrying kit, that is literally the only place that you can park, and it is dangerous. Again, more dangerous, I think, than a protected pond. So I had to ask the question, who is the committee working for? What are they really out for here? Is it for the responsibility, for the love of allotments, for the love of growing, for the love of their community? Or is it a case of they just want to hold some power? And you know, if all the power you want to hold is to tell people what they can and can't do on a little patch of land, I mean, I think that's a little bit sad. So that email was sent, and to be fair, the lady at the council, who I've spoken to quite a lot, is lovely and very understanding, and I think she was actually quite supportive of the pond, and did sort of lay out the case, but unfortunately the committee decided against it. So I went through the feelings, I got cross, and then I did what anyone else would do. I vented to a mate, and that mate happens to be somebody that quite a few of you probably already know. That's Steve, Digwell Greenfingers. And he said, hang on a minute. And he gave me a call and he said, Jess at Leaf and Ground has said there are 2 plots currently vacant. There's no waiting list. Take your pick. So I did. Welcome to plot 28 at Leaf and Ground. It is a massive upgrade. We have, you can't quite see up there, but there is a deli, a cafe, toilets and a garden centre on site. You're also allowed wildlife ponds, and they also promote organic gardening. In fact, you're not actually allowed to use weed killers or chemicals on your plot, which is what I'm all about. I've been here a couple of times and you can really tell the difference that makes, in that the soil is so much better quality than what is at Woodfields, and actually in an hour and a half up here we found more wildlife here than I did in just over a year at the old plot. So as you can see, the person who had this before me, they loved this site, and actually I had met them a couple of times. So I'm quite happy to be taking this on. I've already cleared a few of the beds. These quite small beds are going to be going, but I'm hoping to reuse them somewhere else. And actually, it's quite a big plot. So I've got all the way up to that black sort of bin there, up to this corner. So I would say it is bigger than the bottom plot on the old site. Obviously a lot smaller than the 2 put together. But it's a very, very good size, and it has been very well loved. Look, the soil's been worked over, it's lovely and dark. It is heavy clay up here for the most part, but someone's really sort of taken care of it and looked after it. So I am very pleased to be taking this on and giving it some love. So the plan today, we're starting afresh. Obviously there are some things over the old site that I'm going to need to bring up. So I've brought some wood up already. I've obviously had 3 tons of compost delivered, so that's going to have to come up, but I'm going to need some help with the trailer for that. But I want to plan this plot out properly and try and make a real proper go of it. The last year has been sort of winging it, and it hasn't really worked for me. I'm a bit of a planner at heart, so I don't know why I thought winging it was going to work. So today I'm going to sort of plot it all out and build a couple of beds, move a few beds, and we'll go from there. Right, no mics, I'm sorry if this is a bit crap. I've fallen at the first hurdle. Of course I have. So what I am envisaging here, just a little wave of my hand for the envisage, I would like 2 flower beds along the front here. Let me step back a bit. So just where my finger is there is the end of the plot. So what I would like is to put like a sort of archway in the middle and then 2 narrow flower beds. That would be quite nice, wouldn't it? So what I'm thinking is, instead of using the wood from the other allotment to build that, because it's not cut down, because I don't want them to be this wide, I guess, is to use these, which are narrower, and put them along the front. But then that means taking apart those beds, well, not taking them apart, but moving them. But I suppose there's only chard and borage in there. That one's empty. I could move that one and maybe move. Right, I reckon that'll be all right. So we've got kind of in the middle, my archway will go there. Flowers, and then I've got 2 little odd square beds that didn't really have anything to do, so I thought I'd whack them on the end for vibes. Does that make sense? And I just thought that would make a nice entryway, because I don't know, for those who haven't seen Leaf and Ground, maybe I'll do like a whole site tour one day. But the allotments here are something else. Like they are not your run-of-the-mill old boy spuds and onions kind of thing. Like a Leaf and Ground plot it's a premium plot. What can I say? They're beautiful, they're productive, they're organic, but they are also gorgeous. So I need to step up my game and keep up with the neighbours. Right, progress has been made. So we've got 1 bed, space for arch, 2 little beds, one of which is filled with, so I started moving the pile of wood chip that was there. So I thought I'd put it in these little beds because I could grow blueberries in them, get some blueberry bushes, and that way, because they're in such small beds, I can make sure that the soil in these ones is more acidic than the rest, which is good for bloobs. So I've moved some wood chip from that pile into there and then topped up with some compost from these little beds that I've moved. I also found some potatoes in that, so I guess these are going to be blueberry / potato beds next year. But yeah, what I didn't bargain for though is, after digging, I am finding lots of landscape fabric. So I think the person that had this before has obviously done a very good job of covering the pathways, and you can tell that because it's not very weedy at all. And I don't know why it didn't occur to me before that there would probably be some sort of fabric or something underneath it, which means I'm going to need to either plan my beds around that or make them deeper to grow on top of it, or pull the fabric up. None of which I can be bothered to do today. So I think what I might do, because it's getting really hot and I'm getting tired, is head home and check on my single seed potato challenge, because some of the buckets got slugged. So I think what I might do is turn those out, see what we've got, and then add them to the total when I dig the rest up, probably next month. So I will see you at home. Right, home. Also, little life update. This is Bracken. He lives with me now. Hi. Oh, goodness me, what a big yawn. Bracken is, we think, between 5 and 6 weeks old. He was a little stray with 2 of his sisters, and he was handed into some vets that my sister-in-law works at. So naturally, I had to say, well, he's coming home with me. Hi. He and Molly are getting on very, very well. It took a couple of days for Molly to adjust, but now they're actually pretty good friends. So that's nice too. Hi. Don't be looking all cute. I've got to go and look at my potatoes. Yes, I need to go and look at my potatoes. Here you go. Tell it to the fish. Tell it to the fish. That's it. Okay, so spud update. These are the buckets. And this one and this one got slugged. So these are the 2 I'm going to empty. The others are doing all right. So in here we've got peat-free compost, we have got fish blood and bone as a fertiliser, and then I've been topping it up with rabbit bedding, which is like a nice slow release sort of fertiliser, and I have an endless supply, funnily enough. So I've also been putting more fish blood and bone in the layers, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, these 2, let's have a look, see how they're doing. I don't hold out much hope, but worth a go, eh? Oh, also, the garden's looking a little bit different because I fell through the decking, so my landlord ripped it out, and it stayed that way. So I don't know. Excuse the building site, I guess. I don't know when it's going to be sorted out, but there we are. Oh. So I think the best way to do this is just empty these out into this trug, so I can keep the compost, take out the allotment. Okay, right, let's go with the smaller one first. It's quite soggy in there. Loads of worms, is that a good sign? Any potato, ooh! A potato. Any more? God, there's loads of worms in here. That's wonderful. Are you joking me? One potato. That is my sum total of that one bucket. Well, we'll add that to the total, won't we, Steve? Right, okay. Next. Hopefully, it's a bigger bucket, so hopefully bigger prizes. Let's see. Two. No, you're having a banana. You're having an actual banana. I mean, if this was a competition to breed worms, I think I'd be doing pretty well. But on the potato front... What's that? No, that's a stone. This is embarrassing. Come on. That's it. 2 potatoes, and I'll be honest, they're not looking very happy anyway, but I'm still going to add them to the total, so I'll go and weigh these up and jot it down somewhere, because it might make all the difference. There could be billions in the other buckets, and it could just be tipped over by these 2 spuds. Who am I kidding? 2 spuds. There you go. That's it. And I guess on that note, I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks for joining me today. Sorry again, it's been a couple of weeks since my last update. I keep saying there's lots going on behind the scenes. Actually, I have started a second YouTube channel. completely different to this one. It's for guided meditations that are based on the tarot. So if that's your kind of thing, I will drop the link in the below. But the channel's called the Wild Arcana. It's still very early days. I'm still learning a bit more about sound editing and things, but I'm having a lot of fun writing the meditations and recording them. So if you're into that kind of thing, pop along, say hi. If you're not, that's fine, just stick around here. If you're not subscribed, please do. It would mean an awful lot, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.